As the Beijing Pact is surrounded on all sides, Russia's on the last life, about to capitulate. Nigeria and South Africa are not loyal anymore, as troops from Israel knock out Egypt and Saudi Arabia. And they will fall. Iran and Turkey are pathetic, will just fall. The United States of America and allies will march to victory. Let's see how NATO marches to victory, but first, please subscribe. And well, let's beat up a turkey. Yeah, that's pretty mean to do to a turkey. But relax, this isn't a turkey, it's Turkey. Everyone wants to beat up Turkey, isn't that right, Greece? Well, normally Serbia and Bulgaria will, but you traitors, ugly traitors, what a shock. You nomads in Bulgaria and Hungary, and you, whatever you are in Slovakia. And well, let's invade Turkey. As Turkey quickly collapses, as Istanbul has already fallen, they move in to capture Ankara, quickly taking it. While this is happening, with Turkey falling out of the war quickly, with the capitulation of Turkey in the movement in here, let's move to Egypt. With forces from NATO and allies moving into Israel, which they march south into the Sinai Peninsula towards the Suez Canal. Thus capturing the Suez Canal, they take the opportunity to move in. Thus moving south of Cairo and capturing Alexandria. They manage to move in and capture Cairo. At this point, Egypt is forced into capitulation. And well, Nigeria and South Africa are like, we're out. They're like, wild mapper out. Those crazies. They think they're me. But now, with all eyes turned to Iran and Saudi Arabia as to be able to take out the Russian order, Ukraine will be fully liberated soon. America vows to destroy this evil parasite, or the Beijing Pact. Liberty, freedom, and order must be placed over the Beijing Pact as the Gulf liberation begins. You might be asking how. With American troops and troops from India landing in Oman, in the southern part of Oman, they face sheer resistance, but with the total willpower of the Americans, they move through. Americans are Americans. They're something else. And that's a positive thing, maybe, or maybe not. Depends who likes America. You know what? America is a nation you can make fun of all the time and not get in trouble. Imagine if I started making fun of Israel, Palestine, Iran, Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, France, Britain. Well, nobody makes fun of Canada. It's irrelevant. You know, the capital of Oman. Oh, great, I forgot it. Well, who cares? With Iran being like, with them realizing, and Americans are mad, so they go blow up some crap in Iran. Yeah, Iran kind of deserved that, just saying. Iran. Who likes Iran? If you're an Iran fan, well, keep watching this video. As they move in towards the UAE, completely demolishing it. As these forces in here get ready for their next operation, which is a push towards Riyadh. With them managing to open the Strait of Hormuz by landing up in Iran over here, they save this spot as Indian troops march in to create a corridor to continue to control it. And from Pakistan, they move down. And well, yeah, that's a good front. From the UAE in the north, they march towards Riyadh. with the first march into Riyadh being a failure as they get pushed all the way back. But they then move to their other way of doing this. They decide to move up around Qatar. Yes, Qatar. And with this, they march into Qatar. Nothing to see here. That nation's definitely not doing slavery with a bunch of foreign workers. Definitely not. Nothing to see here. As they start pushing towards Kuwait. At this point, they manage to get through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait with this. They take advantage of their position and land here. And while they manage to quickly move in and take a city. But I'm not sure. I think this is Jeddah, maybe. I am messing up the cities today. This isn't good. Maybe this is Medina, Mecca, Jeddah. These cities along here. Yeah. Medina, Mecca, Jeddah, wherever they are. As the Second Battle of Riyadh breaks out. With the Second Battle of Riyadh being a victory for the NATO and allies. With Saudi Arabia on the verge of surrender. But before they do, the liberation of Kuwait happened. I'm in queue. We gotta wait. Yeah, that's not funny. It was funny in my head, but in reality it wasn't. With them having to land here, quickly driving south. At this point, Saudi Arabia is forced into capitulation. Thus meaning, yeah, the Islam world is getting their butts kicked. Yep. And well, let's go into Iran, everybody, and see what happens. But first, I gotta take some oil. Yes, that's the United States, not me. I'm better than the United States. Y'all should put me in charge. And no, I'm not an American. Thank the gods. Or God. Or gods. Or nothing. Depends on what you want to think. But, Canadian time. Now let's watch the Americans invade the whale. With them advancing rapidly, and Iran's like, wait, how? I don't know. As they bring it to the ground, and Iran's like, okay. They need it. Wait a minute. This was overthrown into the communist Iran. Are they still going to destroy it? Oh my god, they might be worse. Oh no, Iran is Laos 2.0. With from into Turkey, they launch an offensive. Although this group of forces gets encircled. Oh, great. But the group of forces decide, well, if we're going to be stuck, we might as well take some more land. And everybody's like, what are they doing? I mean, who even likes Iran? Like, they're going to have to say, America will have to say after they get through Iran, I ran through it. As they move into Tehran. And the locals go, yay, it's America! And the evil communists that came in, not the good communists, there's a difference. State communists are evil. Well, that's what this is, the People's Republic of Iran. Like, the Paris Commune's greater. With Tehran falling and they get to here. And another offensive from here manages to encircle some forces of Turkey. And then they move south. With them making a spearhead like that right rapidly. As Iran quickly is kicked out of the war. As during this time, Russia faced major defeats in western parts and eastern parts. Let's start with their first western losses. I think this is Kharkiv and Semifal, launched with another offensive which takes Luhansk and Donetsk. As they move in, now this front starts collapsing as Tomeh, Millet, Opel, and Mariupol faced defeat as they move then south, all the way to take Crimea over. That was one of the major defeats. The other was the Finnish offensive, which took this much land. And then they had another where they ended up facing defeats out of Turkey and Iran, as Tbilisi falls, Yerevan falls, Nagorno-Karabakh area gets invaded as a punch towards Baku, which I didn't change city sizes. Who knew I wouldn't? I might need to add some cities when I add new nations in the future. And in the east, it wasn't the biggest loss, as Japan manages to liberate the island of I can't say it today. Oops. As they move in from the north, Canadian and American troops managing to take this city. I forget what it's called. But thus, with this, they end up in control of this. Well, interesting. Just interesting is all I need to say. Well, the collapse of Russia is set to begin now. Where will it start? Well, with them losing control of these lands in Iran. And then they lose control of Turkmenistan's capital. And while quickly they become a loss. With Iran's offensive from the Iran direction being very successful. In the Caucasus, I think this is Grozny. And then they move into Dagestan. And well, they then decide to move north towards the Ukraine front, with they finally break out of Crimea, and then they come down over here, taking control of Rostov. And well, this is a major defeat. The front line's stalling out for a bit. Then offensives along this area begins. And well, St. Petersburg gets surrounded. And it collapses, with Russia launching a counteroffensive to try to resecure Ukraine and Belarus. Being winter of 2036. With their only major defeat during this time was taking back Kiev. And yeah, the Russian Order is a very scary nation, as they overthrew their government to do this. With them pushing the front in Ukraine back. But at this point, a Western offensive in the north begins. So along here, as you can see. And well, they get north of Ukraine, with them taking that advantage to move in Ukraine to the north. With Russia in a situation that isn't good on this front, as forces move in like this, and then like this. At this point, Moscow is forced to be retreated. Not Moscow, Kiev. To not face encirclement, but a minor one does happen, not as many forces. But as you can see, Russia isn't in a good place. Does this look stable to you guys? With Iran managing to push to the Aral Sea, also pushing up the Caspian Sea. At this point, the front against Russia speeds up, as the Battle of Rostov begins. But the cities over in Central Asia quickly fall. and Rostov eventually falls, with the front ending up at the Battle of Moscow, as rapidly Moscow is taken, with China shocked at Russia's collapse. China's angry at it, infuriated at Russia's failure. Look how far they advanced. And then finally, Korea and Japan managed to launch offensives into Manchuria. And while Japan and Korea move deeper into Russia, managing to take this city, which I think, no, I don't know. I think it's Yakutsk, which basically means I got one of the maps drawn wrong, maybe. But not a big deal. With Russia collapsing, but around Mongolia, China manages to hold. And while, as China realizes they are doomed, they decide to make the fall as costly as possible. Oh no, the fall isn't as... Oh no, China didn't get what they wanted. Rebellions began. Where does the first one begin? Ooh, that's right, Tibet. In Tibet, they revolt. The Green Revolt. Yes, green. As they revolt in multiple fronts, quickly taking it back. And well, the Tibetan rebels are a success and China fails to stop them. The next group, Xinjiang. They start more revolts as they're mad about their basically subjugation. They even cross into Kazakhstan, with Mongolia revolting both in Inner Mongolia and Mongolia, as Ulaanbaatar is where one of their first rebellions is. And well, Mongolia gets destroyed, and the Mongolian rebels destroy China. At this point, in yellow, Manchuria revolts. Not yellow, that would be a bad color. Let's use orange. As they manage to revolt. And this rebellion manages to hook up with Mongolia. At this point, like, whatever, I forget the name. They move down around it. And China is getting completely destroyed in Mongolia. As Mongolia begins to liberate itself. Eventually, the front ends with this. This being the division between both countries. With the rebels giving up these territories for help to take more. As Xinjiang rebels manage to do this. As they quickly occupy all of this. Now, what does the Tibet rebels do in the same time? Oh, you might not be ready. Well, they manage to take over way more land. But quickly, a democratic coup, breaks out. But due to it being a failure, it starts in multiple fronts. It managed to capture Beijing, but the government managed to escape to like here. I think that's maybe. Down the coast in a few areas. And then there are gains in Hong Kong and Macau, along with Taiwan, and on this island. As the democratic rebels quickly start popping up around the populated areas. And Japan does what nobody wants them to do, invades China with Korea. Well, this is technically less bad, as this is a land, well, that gets invaded. This part of the rebellion ending up joining the main force. With the rebels deciding to, yeah, this is what they do. With the People's Republic of China still thriving. From the south, Yunnan falls. And as you can see, this is a collapse. And this is around around September 8th, 1938. This is when this happened. And as you can see, it's a major upset. But let's see the peace treaty. And this is the peace treaty. As you can see, a lot has changed. Let's start in the New World. America annexes Cuba. Venezuela's partition, with Guyana taking a bit, Brazil taking some from the south, and Colombia taking some with the north, annexed into the United States. Similar to Puerto Rico, which is also the same for Cuba. Now let's go to Europe. Spain got destroyed. Portugal annexed some land. France annexed some land between Basque and Catalonia. Galicia is free. And now we have Spain with these islands as occupied. Let's go to Hungary. They lost a bit of land to Romania. No one else. Czechia annexed that. Croatia got parts of Vojvodina. Bosnia gained some lands. Montenegro gained a tiny sliver of land. Kosovo got annexed into Albania. Macedonia annexed some lands out of Serbia and Bulgaria, along with Greece taking parts of the south. Romania takes part of the north. Hungary, Serbia, and Bulgaria, so you get their butts kicked. Now, let's move north a bit. As you can see, Belarus and Ukraine's free. Ukraine's big. Finland is big. And all those nations are big. And you can also see we got Volgograd as a nation. I should probably turn on the city. But as you can see, I'm going to add some more cities because, like, Kurdistan, I didn't give it a capital. This area, Khuzestan, didn't give it a capital. Yeah. And while there's Balochistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan becomes India's puppet as India annexes a bunch of land. Kazakhstan becomes Central Asia, creating this. Tatarstan becomes free. Russia gets split into Russia and Siberia, with this nation borders going. Actually, I need to fix it because this isn't right. And while I'll do that later, so it has a capital. Then Japan annexed outer Manchuria, and Manchuria got independence. Mongolia got independence. East Turkestan got independence. And while Tibet, China lost lands, lands were partitioned between Cambodia and Vietnam. Papua New Guinea is free. And Malaysia expanded. Although Brunei's supposed to be there, I must have accidentally got rid of it. And then this is Indonesia. They lost everything. And East Timor is free. Just, it doesn't look like it. And then Africa, Somalia gained some lands of Ethiopia. Ethiopia lost lands to Kenya. The Tigray region left, and Ethiopia got left alone. And as you can see, Saudi Arabia and Iran got harsh punishments. But I'm going to put in some capitals of these new nations I created, like Khuzestan, Kyrgyzstan, Tatarstan. Volgograd goes to south because Volgograd should be the capital. And yeah, Manchuria, I'll give a capital. Yeah, I'll have to pick out capitals for the new nations. Because new nations need capitals. And, well, I know some of them what they'll be because they're regions that left and they already have capitals. Of a region can be the nation's capitals. Well, that's pretty much all for today's video. Let's go to the closing remarks. And, well, as the Beijing Pact has failed at their goal of world domination, the West completely demolishes nations, creating more nations, occupying others to form democracies. China collapsed and a new democracy was created. and they lost Tibet, Xinjiang, Inner Mongolia, and Manchuria. Will a revanchist power rise up? But look at Russia or Spain. They have lost lands, new countries reform. Russia lost immense lands, including resource-rich Siberia and Caucasus region, as new nations were made. And some liberated. Resentment builds within the people of failed nations and nations who feel they were ripped off. And in Israel, the far-right expansionists prepare to take over Jordan, Syria, and more. NATO and allies are now feeling a divide between Europe and America. It's 2038. Now years have passed. The war lasted 2 years. Can this NATO world order stand, or will NATO rip itself apart? Will the revanchists get control of Russia or China or any of their allies? Well, if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts and theories on the alternate future of the world series. Will this new world order collapse? Also, click the notification bell to not miss American Paranoia on Wednesday or Alternate Future of the World on Sunday next week. See you there, Wild Mapper out, but click a video of